So this is a complete lesson for the IELTS writing section. On this lesson, you'll learn everything you need in order to get a high score on the IELTS writing section, including theory, a lot of templates, expert tips and tricks, and also some live examples that you and I are going to do together. Additionally, here you're going to get free access to our free ebook with 101 IELTS questions. So just make sure you go to the description below and get your free ebook. So the first thing we're going to see here is the structure for this writing section. Okay, so this is structure for the writing section of the IELTS. Overall, you get 60 minutes to write 2 essays. Okay, you're going to write 2 essays. The first one is a diagram analysis, and the second one is the opinion essay. For the first one, which is the diagram analysis, you get a minimum word count of 150 words. While for the independent essay, you have a minimum word count of 250 words. Okay, we're talking about the minimum here. Now we're going to see some of the main features for this section. So first, you can answer the questions in any order, which means you have 2 tasks, 2 questions. You can answer them in any order. Actually, there's only one time limit for both of them. So they give you 60 minutes and you can choose how to distribute it. Okay. We recommend that you spend 20 minutes on the first task and 40 on the second one. Task 1 accounts for 1/3 of the total score, while task 2 accounts for 2/3. Of course, the task 2 is more important, and that's why you should spend more time writing it. You can use either the American English or the British English spelling systems. Definitely here, when you choose to write, you can choose it to write as an American or as a Brit. For example, the word center, you can spell it C-E-N-T-E-R, like the American way, or you can spell it C-E-N-T-R-E, which is the Brit way, okay? So you can choose any of them, but the important thing is that you have to keep consistent. So if you already are using the American spelling system, then you have to use it throughout the whole section. So now we're gonna see the grading system, the scoring system, okay? So the first criteria they're gonna use in order to give you a score is the task, achievement, and response. Of course, you must make sure that you thoroughly understand the instructions. You have to read the question very carefully in order for you to directly respond to it, okay? If you rush and you misread the question, you might end up giving a response that is not really in scope with whatever they have asked, and then you're gonna get a bad score. So just make sure you follow the instructions carefully. Number 2, coherence and cohesion. Coherence basically means that your response has to be logical. So for example, you start with the more general things and then you work your way up to the more specific things. And cohesion basically means that your position has to be clear. It has to be the same position throughout the whole essay. You cannot be changing positions all the time. And you also need the right connectors in order for your essay to be fluid. Number 3, lexical resource. Basically, this means vocabulary. And number 4, grammatical range and accuracy. We start seeing things such as subordinate clauses, parallelism, tenses, right? Verb tenses, that's a big thing. Pronouns, etc., etc. So if you use more of the complex grammatical structures, then you're going to get a better score. Okay, so now we're going to start analyzing task number 1. What do they ask us about task number 1? Well, here you have it. So let's analyze this first task for the writing section. On the first task, you will need to write an analysis of a graph, table, diagram, or chart in more than 150 words. So they will give you a chart, something like this, okay? Something like this, okay? And then what are you gonna have to do? What you're gonna have to do is this. You're gonna have first to summarize the information. You have to summarize what you see, the information that is being given to you. Then you have to select and report the main features. And those features will come with data, so you will need to talk about the data. This is reporting, so you will be expressing in words what you see in the image. And then at the end, number 3, you will need to contrast when it is relevant. So basically you will need to make comparisons, for example, comparisons between 2 tables or comparisons over time. Very good, here you have a template that we use here at Liberty Test Prep for our students. It's a little long, but the more you practice, the better you will understand it. Okay, this is a template we're going to be using for the first task. The template is very cohesive. It's kind of the long side, but it does give you a lot of room for you to make adjustments. Now, what you have to know though is that this essay, task number 1, is not too big, but it does have some difficulty, okay? You gotta write it in a very academic way. You cannot be colloquial here. So in all spaces that you see in red, basically you can insert the data that you see on the images, ranges, variables. Now I'll teach you how you can apply these templates. And here you have the first sample question. Okay, let's go and analyze it. So this is the first example for the first task. Let's read it together. The pie charts below show the greenhouse emissions for the last year by sector for the US and Canada. Summarize information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so here you see two pie charts actually with different distributions of percentages of gas emissions, right? So in this case, you have the US on the left, you have Canada on the right. So what I want you to do is pause the video, okay, and take 20 minutes, which is the recommended time, to write a whole essay. Remember that you must write at least 150 words. And after that, play the video again, and you'll be able to see my response and learn from it. Okay, so let's do that right now. Okay, so here's my answer. Here we have 4 paragraphs. Actually, the first paragraph is very short. It's only made out of 1 sentence. Okay, let's read that first sentence. Okay, in that first sentence, basically you find the summary. So I'm complying with that point of summarizing with that first sentence. Then, here in the content that has been highlighted with blue, you can find the selection and the report. So I'm selecting information data from the image and I'm reporting on it. This information, of course, is the most important, the most relevant, okay? And then here in the areas that have been highlighted with red, then you can find the contrast. I'm making a comparison between, in this case, between the US and Canada. So here you can see everything that I have added to the template. Actually, I've used the template, but all the information that I have added as an input here is highlighted. Okay, so here we have a second example. This time it will be a line chart. Now, the second example here, in this case, we don't have a pie chart anymore. We have lines, right? A couple lines here. So let's read the question. The line chart below shows the per capita consumption of soft drinks in the US and Japan between 1950 and 2000. Summarize information by selecting or reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so in this case, again, pause the video, write your own essay with 150 words or more, and then play the video and we'll analyze my answer. Okay, here's my answer. 3 paragraphs, way over 150 words. And on the first line, you can find the summary. That's a summary. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm copying the title that I found on the chart. Then in both the second and third paragraphs, I'm reporting. I'm selecting information and I'm reporting on it. And then here I'm highlighting with red the contrast. So if you notice, the main difference as a contrast, right? The other one says was always greater. So greater is a comparison also, except for the year, that's also a comparison. Same level, substantial difference, conversely. So those are important things for us to be adding. And in that way, this is all the information I have added, I have reported on, and I have contrasted. So this essay is very well written. That will give me a very high score on the IELTS. How do you like examples? They were a little heavy, right? Just remember, writing is an art, so the more you practice, the better you'll get at it, okay? But now some pro tips for this first section. First, you have to adjust the template. Just feel free to adjust the template. We're giving you a general template, but of course you can adjust it a little bit just to fit your needs better, okay? So just play a little bit with it, use some synonyms if you want to. And of course, I know that you've already practiced enough. You've downloaded our free ebook with a lot of questions, so you're gonna find some writing questions. Use this template with those different questions, and you're gonna see that at some points you're gonna have to adjust it, okay? Just make sure that you do it. And pro tip number 2 for this academic task, learn and use the big academic words. Okay, so the better words you use, let's say the more difficult words you use, the better your score will be, because the more impressed these examiners are gonna be. Any respectable IELTS program you follow, for example, our program will do that, will teach you a lot of big academic words, okay? So that's something very important that you might want to use. But for the time being, I'm going to give you some help here. You have some of these big words. Now, one important thing is that if you truly want to get the highest possible scores, especially scores closer to the maximum score, a 9, then you need to use some big words, right? So here, notice how on the first essay, I'm using some big words. Big words doesn't mean that they are secret words, but they are words that don't usually get used in a colloquial environment. These are more academic, more akin to a report. So in this case, for example, I'm using the verb lie, accounting for instead of representing, right? Shocking as an adjective, substantial as an adjective, likewise as a connector, single-handedly as an adverb. So with that, I am showing that I have a good mastery of the written English language. On my second essay, the same thing, ranged from substantial, steep decline, abrupt increase, stable, gradual and steady gain. Shrunk towards the end, considerable, those are important things for me to add. So if you truly want to get a high score, then you should start practicing with these higher caliber words. Perfect, now we're gonna see task number 2. Task number 2 is an opinion essay. Basically, there are different types of questions they might ask you. Let's go and analyze it. Alright, so now we're gonna start with task number 2. In task number 2, you will be given a statement and you must write an essay of more than 250 words. Okay? And the statement will look something like this. Okay, you have something like this. Let's read it, right? They say, write about the following topic. Some people believe that too many resources and attention are devoted to the protection of wild animals and birds. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Okay, so they're asking you, this one is an opinion essay, right? They're asking you whether you agree or disagree. So the first thing you need to do here is you need to give your position. Your position needs to be clear from the get-go, from the first paragraph, okay? Especially when we're talking about an opinion essay, okay? Opinion-based essay. Second thing you need to do is you need to provide reasons to support your position, reasons, motives, basically, right? Number 3, you need to provide examples and other details. So the examples need to be concrete and they need to be relatable. When you're dealing with opinion essays, look at it this way, you're trying to convince people of your position. And of course, you can use counterexamples, benefits, etc. But the important thing is that you need to provide support for your own position. So the thing here is that for task number 2, there are going to be different types of questions, okay? The most important types of questions you're going to get are this. First and foremost, the opinion-based essay, which is the most common, okay, in which you will have to give your opinion. The second one would be the discussion-based essay, in which you don't have to really give your opinion. Basically, you need to report and summarize the reasons for two opposite parties, okay? So basically, you need to analyze two sides of debate. Number 3, the essays that are based on advantages and disadvantages. So this one that we read before would be an example, a perfect example of an opinion essay, because at the end they're asking you whether you agree or disagree. So they're asking you directly for your opinion. Here we're going to see an example of a discussion essay. Let's read it. Some people believe that social media has a negative impact on young people and their ability to form personal relationships. Others believe that these sites bring people together in a beneficial way. Discuss both sides. So at the end, they're saying discuss both sides. So you don't have to give your opinion. Basically, you need to provide a summary for the first point of view and then a summary for the second point of view, including the reasons and the supporting evidence given by the advocates of each of the views. And here we have an example of an advantage or disadvantage essay. Let's read it. Some people believe that it is better to get a full-time job immediately after you graduate secondary school. What are the advantages or disadvantages of doing so? Okay, so here they're asking you directly to list the advantages or disadvantages. This one is more similar actually to the discussion essay. Okay, so now let's see the template that we recommend that you use for the opinion essays. Okay, so this is the template we're going to use for opinion-based essays. Everything that is in red will be information that you need to provide. So here we're aiming at having 4 paragraphs. Now we're going to go and look at an example for task number 2. So this is the question we're going to be solving right now. The first opinion essay. Okay, you already know what to do. So what I want you to do is to pause the video and take anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. And after you have written your essay of at least 250 words, then resume the video and see my answer. Alright, so I'm assuming you already wrote your essay. So let's see here. Here we have an essay of 306 words. This is actually a pretty well written essay, so I would be getting the highest possible score. Here, from the get-go in the first paragraph, I have my position and it is totally clear. So the examiner who is reading my essay knows what position I'm taking right from the start. Then in everything that has been highlighted in yellow, here we have my reasons, okay, the reasons and explanations. So for example, my first reason is that the number of species that are in danger is alarming, and then I'm explaining, I'm providing explanations with in fact, right? In fact is a keyword in order for me to insert explanations. Then the second reason would be that the two biggest resources have been a total failure. Okay, so the second paragraph talks about something totally different, and I develop a different argument. And here, everything that is in blue, basically, those are my examples, right? Notice that examples are what take the most space in the whole paragraph, right? They're very hefty, and that's what they're supposed to look like. The examples need to be hefty, they need to be long. The examples are the ones that are really going to make your argument clear. So pay a lot of attention to them. This essay would be getting a very, very high score, the maximum actually. And here you can also see how I'm using the template, right? So basically everything that is highlighted is information that I have provided, but everything that is not highlighted is part of the template. So here we have the template that we recommend that you use for the discussion essays. So here's the template for the discussion essays. Okay, so it's a little different because here on the first paragraph, you don't need to provide your position because you won't be taking a side here. What you need to do is you need to provide a general introduction about the topic, like a little history of the discussion, okay? And here you're gonna be more segmented, you're gonna isolate each of the points of view. So for the second paragraph, you're gonna write the summary and all the arguments from one of the points of view, and then on the third paragraph you're going to write the same thing but for the other perspective. Now let's see one of these discussion essay questions. So here we have a question for task number 2. This one is a discussion. Okay, so what I want you to do again is to pause the video, take anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes to write 250 words at least, and then play the video back so you can see my answer, okay? Don't be lazy and write your answer. Perfect, so now we are going to analyze my answer. Here's my answer, and it's actually 4 paragraphs long, 307 words, and you can notice here everything that is in green actually is the summary and the reasons provided by one of the sides, while everything that is in blue basically are the reasons of the other side. So you can see here more of a gap between those two, right? I'm separating those two so they don't mix together. And that's very important for clarity purposes, okay? Because if you mix them together, that's going to be very, very confusing. So here you need to make sure that you have those pieces of information in different paragraphs. And of course, this essay would be getting the highest possible score. So how did you like that second essay? In my opinion, and I've said this before in the video I made for the TOEFL versus the IELTS, right? That is very important, and if you haven't watched it, you are missing on something really important because that will help you decide on whether to take the TOEFL or the IELTS. But on that video I said, and I will say it again, that I believe that the IELTS writing section is a little bit easier than the TOEFLs. And now I'm going to give you some expert advice. The first piece of advice, the first pointer would be this. Read the question very carefully, okay? Because if you rush and you don't truly understand the question, you're going to write something and whatever you write might be grammatically correct, but if the content is not aiming at the question, if it's not answering the question directly, then you're going to have problems and you're going to get a low score. Okay, because that's one big component of the scoring system, of the rubrics. So just make sure you allocate enough time to read and understand the question 100%. Expert advice number 2, make your examples clear and concrete. Okay, a lot of people have trouble with this, and most of my students go through a big process of learning how to make their examples totally graphic. That's what you need. It's like you're telling a story, and the person who reads you, they have to be able to imagine what you're saying from your words. They don't have to be interpreting anything, okay? So it's gotta be clear to them what you are referring to. So the more graphic your examples are, the better for you. And of course, by this time, you've already downloaded our free ebook and you have enough practice material to work with. So just work on making those examples really, really concrete. Pointer number 3, you have to have enough time at the end to proofread, okay? Just leave a couple of minutes at the end you always need to proofread grammar, spelling, etc., etc. Just make sure that everything is tight at the end. So leave a couple minutes, at least two at the end, just to proofread. And the fourth pointer, just practice ahead. Writing is an art. It's a beautiful skill that you need to practice and develop, but it takes time, okay? So just be patient with it and practice a lot. You also need to practice with different topics that are conventional, that are typical on the IELTS. For example, some topics are related to family, some others are related to a religion, some others are related to community, etc., etc. Don't worry, because in the next video, on the next lesson, which is a speaking lesson, we're gonna go more in depth into these topics. So perfect, that's been the complete lesson for the writing section. I know you enjoyed it, so give us a thumbs up, and of course subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell so you are notified when we upload a new video. And of course, you've already downloaded your free ebook. This is going to be great for you because you already have enough practice material to start your preparation. My name is Rob, and with Liberty, and see you on the next lesson.